What's up, YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel, Amelia Talks. Let's talk about it. And I will be talking about it. And I want you guys to be here while y'all hear me talk about it. Now, I am in my car because I have not had time while I have been at home to record this video. I went to Pathfinder like 2 weeks ago. So Thanksgiving was like on a Thursday. We were off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That following Monday, I went straight to Pathfinder. Now, before I went to Pathfinder, there was a couple of things that I want to talk to y'all about. And again, that's why I'm sitting in my car, because it's kind of like overdue. It's been about 2 weeks. And I just want to make sure I get it done, because when I get home, I am like extremely busy with my kids, picking my son up from basketball practice and all of that. And then I have a toddler. So it's just like a lot. And I don't want to prolong this video. And then y'all be like, well, that happened 2-3 months ago. I don't think Pathfinder is still the same. But when I was doing some research on Pathfinder, I was not able to find anything. I went to Google, I went to Facebook, I went to Instagram, I went to YouTube, I went to like all the social media platforms to find out whatever I could find out about Pathfinder. Now, somebody told me like, hey, Google Army Pathfinder School, Fort Benning, or whatever they told me to Google. And then I Googled it and it came up. And it just so happens that one of my coworkers, her husband went to Pathfinder School, and he told me like exactly where I can find some information from. But when I went to YouTube, they had some videos from like the 1960s with soldiers in their ACUs, which we ain't wore ACUs in like 3-4 years. And I'm looking like, so y'all went to Pathfinder School, or y'all went to the Pathfinder course like 5 years ago, and you expect me to think that this is how it is right now? And they only had like little snippets and clips and videos of Pathfinder, so it really wasn't too much into detail. And I feel like I am going to upload a video on Pathfinder, because when I got told that I was going to Pathfinder, I didn't think nothing of it. I was just like, okay, this is going to be like another Army course that I can have on my SRB, because I have done combatives, I have done G Army, I have done so many military schools or courses that I felt like, oh, you just show up and you go through the course and boom, like you graduate or you get your certificate. So I didn't think nothing of it. I didn't think it was going to be too hard. I didn't think it was going to be too difficult. Little did I know, y'all, when I showed up, first and foremost, my unit told me, like, you may go, you may not go. They might give all the slots to 82nd. They might have SFAB being walk-ons. But since you're MTO to be in Pathfinder, you're MTO to be in a Pathfinder slot, they're just probably going to take you. I'm not sure yet, but we'll let you know. So that's what my unit told me. So on Wednesday, which was, November 23rd, November 24th, whatever day that was, the 25th, my unit told me, oh, we got a phone call, and they said that you're good to go. Sign for will be at this place at this time with your SRB, and you'll be in the course. And I'm like, okay, cool. So on Thursday, of course, my family came. We had Thanksgiving dinner. We was drinking, we was eating, sitting around the fire pit, having a good old time. So I wasn't thinking about Pathfinder. On Friday, my husband went and printed out everything for me, because I was just like, well, if y'all would have told me in advance, I probably could have had everything printed, and nobody would have had to waste time going on post, printing all this stuff out. But that's neither here nor there. And then Saturday, we all went like on a road trip to Hanging Rock, and I put all my little stuff in little document protectors, because I'm like, okay, I'm about to do the damn thing. I'm about to start studying. I'm about to, do what I need to do to get prepared to go to Pathfinder. So I'm just thinking it's like going to the Army board, like going to a promotion board or whatever. I didn't think, listen, when I tell y'all, I'm about to tell y'all the real deal when it comes to Pathfinder, because nobody tells you. That's why there's no videos on Pathfinder. That's why you don't see nothing on YouTube about Pathfinder, because motherfucker, it's hard. Like, it is the hardest thing in life history of being in the Army. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat. I'm just telling y'all, like, I felt so stupid. Like, I'm not even mad at myself. Like, you had some people that was just like looking like they was about to cry. They was looking like, and I was just like, oh, this is, first of all, on day one, right? Monday. You go in, you sit down, the instructors tell you like the do's and the don'ts, and then they like, okay, they release you for breakfast, because we showed up at like 6:30. We didn't get seated, and we didn't go over all of that stuff until like 7:30. So between 7:30 and 09, we had like a breakfast break. So we hadn't ate. So they like, okay, y'all go ahead and eat some breakfast. Y'all be back, be seated at 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, we're going to go over the schedule for week 1, 2, and 3. The schedule for Monday, which was the day we actually showed up, says that we're going to go over all the nomenclatures. And I was just thinking to myself, like, oh, that's pretty easy. Nomenclatures. We went through pages 1 through 60 in like 2.5 hours. And what happened after that? After we went over the pages, we did a review. After we did the review, we had a test, because in the beginning they went through the schedule week 1, 2, and 3. And again, on day 1, we had to take a test. If you fail that test on day 1, the nomenclature test, you take another test the next day. The same nomenclature test that you took the day before, you take the next day. On the 3rd day, you are doing a written test. Then day 4, well, of course, if you fail the written test on day 3, you do a makeup on day 4. Then on day 5, you're doing sling loads. You're testing on sling loads. You have 3 attempts to test on sling loads. If you fail, that's it. You get the boot. You just cannot go to week 2. So my thing is, first of all, why are we going over material in 2.5 hours before we even go to lunch? The test was at 12 o'clock. We took the test. We came back at 1300. They gave us the results. They basically was like, oh, all y'all failed. It was 50 students. Out of those 50 students, like 10 people, maybe 20 people passed the nomenclature test. The rest of us had to retest the very next morning. We had to be there by 6:30, 7:30 to do the test. And they told us right after, like, hey, you still failed, so you get the boot, or you good to go. You moving on to day 2, and you get to stay in Pathfinder. Now, let me tell y'all what's going to get y'all when y'all doing the nomenclature test, right? First of all, when you walk into the class, all of that stuff I printed, that's all cool and dandy. But if your unit, or if you don't prepare for Pathfinder at least a month or 2 in advance, you are not going to make it. And I'm just being honest. I'm just being real. I'm trying not to yell. I'm trying not to talk too loud, but I'm just really like want to know, let y'all know about Pathfinder and how ridiculous it was for me. So they gave us this big ass book that was like over 300 and something pages, right? So when we took the test, for example, the nomenclature test, they on the overhead projector, they put up like the questions on the screen, because there's like no written test. It's not an ABCD multiple choice. It's not a fill in the blank. It's just like, here go the picture. What is it? And they leave it up there for like maybe a good 5 to 8 seconds, right? So you're looking like, okay, let me think. What is that? Oh, that's a small suspension clevis. So when you write, because it's 3 different kinds, it's a small, it's a medium, and it's a large, but they're all called like a suspension clevis. So for example, if they hold up the picture and be like, okay, what is that? You're supposed to say a small suspension clevis. If you don't put, I don't know what's up with my lighting. If you don't write on your test small suspension clevis, or if you misspell suspension, or if you misspell clevis, the answer is wrong. Misspell, I think I said that. If you misspell suspension, it's wrong. If you misspell clevis, it's wrong. If you don't put small suspension clevis, if you just put small, it's wrong. If you put small clevis, it's wrong. Don't forget, you didn't already lost points because you didn't put your first and last name. Don't forget you already lost points because you didn't write in black ink. You wrote in red or blue, or you wrote in a pencil. So, another example, if they hold up like an APITS fitting or whatever, and they asking you what's the rated capacity or whatever, right? You put, 500 pounds. In your head, you're thinking it's 500 pounds, but when you write in, you don't put pounds at the end. You just put 500. And in your brain, you're saying pounds, right? You have to write 500 lbs for pounds, or you have to write 500 pounds, P-O, however you spell pounds. If you don't spell pounds right, the whole answer is wrong. You got to make sure the wording is right. You either have to abbreviate it, which is by putting lbs, or you have to write pounds and make sure that you spell pounds right. Now, I'm just like, I was just thinking to myself, like, y'all got to be kidding me. Like, when they gave me my test back, I had a whole 44. There's 25 questions, and I'm like, you mean to tell me I got a 44 because I forgot to put LBS, or I forgot to write pounds, or I misspelled suspension, or I misspelled clevis, or I forgot to put suspension clevis, or I forgot to put APITS fitting, or I forgot, like, I was like, ain't no way. And they're like, the instructors are like, we want to pass everybody. We are here for you guys. No, y'all don't. I feel like at that moment, there is a certain amount of people that need to pass this class and a certain amount that need to fail. Now that, mind you, Pathfinder is going away in September of 2021. So if you don't go to Pathfinder between now and September, you just ain't going. And in my head, I'm looking like, well, I don't give a damn. Excuse my French. I'm not going back. Everybody was just like, oh, you should go back sign forward because you didn't have time to study. You didn't have the material. You didn't know. It was kind of like a back and forth on if you was going or not. So don't do that to yourself. Just go back, give it another try. And I said, first of all, I don't care. Second of all, it's too hard. It's like everything has to be verbatim. They just kept talking about Jumpmaster School and how everything is verbatim Jumpmaster School. And I'm sitting here like, well, if I would have knew all of this prior to going, I probably would have took the time, because even when I failed my test that Monday and I went home and I studied all night leading up until Tuesday morning for me to restudy again, because I downloaded the app, like I was just studying. I was like, okay, the rated capacity is 500 pounds for this, 5,000 pounds for this. This is a cargo net. And let me tell y'all, on each, so like for the different sling loads, right? If there's a piece on the sling load that has a name based off of nomenclature, you have to say what it is. So if there's a cargo bag and they hold up the picture, boom, with the cargo bag, and they'll point to something on the cargo bag. They're like, okay, what is this? And I'm like, are you shitting me? Like, that's a piece of the cargo bag. You can't put cargo bag. You have to put what the item is on the cargo bag. So if it's I forget the damn name because it's been 2 weeks and I just didn't care to remember. After I failed on day 2, I was just like, whatever. Don't care to remember the shit. Ain't gonna try to remember the shit because I'm not going back. And I'm so sorry I'm cussing y'all. Like, y'all please forgive me, but I'm just getting a headache. First of all, I haven't had any breakfast. Second of all, I am trying to record this video for y'all in my car, so just please bear with me. So I failed on day 2. So I went back to my unit and then I stayed in contact with a few people that were still going through. One of the soldiers that I stayed in contact with, her name, I don't want to tell y'all her name, but she failed also. But she made it to like day 3, day 4. She failed sling loads, I believe, because you have 3 attempts to do the sling loads. But don't forget, even though I failed my test on day 2, she had to take a test, the written test, on day 3, and then on day 4 she had to retest on that, and then on day 5 she was doing the sling loads and she failed that. So at that point you're exhausted. You're like, I don't care. Like, it is what it is, because after sling loads you're going into drop zone, the HLZs or all the other stuff, whatever they talked about for week 2, and then on week 3 you have the FTX where you do night and day sling load operations, and then you have to jump or whatever exercise they had for the guys that were airborne, air assault. They had something because in the beginning of the class also they asked like, hey, are you airborne? Raise your hand. Are you air assault? Raise your hand. Of course I ain't raised my hand because I ain't airborne. I mean, I'm thinking about going, but that don't have nothing to do with this video. But I was just trying to figure out why there was like no information on Pathfinder, and I believe there's not really that much information on it is because, for one, people are studying to the T to try to get through this course, so they don't even have time to upload before, and they probably don't feel like uploading after because they failed the course. I'm not ashamed and I'm not embarrassed to tell y'all that I failed Pathfinder, and that's just what it is. I'm not going back, and I mean, it's not going to pay me any more money. It's just a tab that I can wear in my uniform, and that's it. And then even after I become Pathfinder, what am I going to use to discourage anybody? I am here telling y'all, if somebody come up to you and say you might be going to Pathfinder, it ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Just study. Just start studying. Even study up until the day that they come to you and say you're not going. We're going to try to get you in at another date. Continue to study. Take leave. Do not be at the office. Get all the study materials that you can. I still have the Pathfinder book, so if somebody want me to mail it to them, I will gladly mail it to you because I don't want it. I don't need it, because it's just, when you're at work every day and you are in charge of something, you just have to mentally, and then if you marry, if you have a spouse, if you have kids, like, you have to really take the time to be dedicated and motivated and focused, which I'm not saying that I wasn't. I just didn't think it was going to be so verbatim. I didn't think it was going to be so much about the verbiage and the words and how this has to be spelled right. And I was just like, I'm exhausted just from those 2 days. So I know my battle was exhausted. And she made it to day 5. So overall, in regards to Pathfinder and going to the Army Pathfinder course, just make sure that if you go, you take it serious. If you go, your unit needs to let you know in advance. If they tell you a week before, then don't even go. You're going to set yourself up for failure. But continue to try. I'm not going to try because, again, I'm a whole time first class. The school is going away in September. I'm trying to be a whole warrant. Like, I got other goals in my mind. I'm trying to pursue, like, my personal business, my personal brand. And that is just not something that I'm focused on. You basically would have to be away from your family. I recommend going to Fort Benning, because if you are stationed at Fort Bragg and they send the MTT team up here, you have to go home every day. So you'll be around your kids. You'll be around your spouse. You won't really be focused on studying versus if you go to Fort Benning, you'll be in a barracks room and you'll just be like, that's the only thing you can do is study. I mean, and that's pretty much it. Pathfinder was 3 weeks. They sent an MTT team to Fort Bragg. And if anyone has any questions that I can answer, just please hit me up. Just make sure you email me at ameliag5587@gmail.com. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you go to my Instagram and follow my Instagram at ameliag5587, and follow my personal business page at Amelia Talks. I have some products on there if you're interested in buying some products, but that's pretty much it. Again, much success to everybody in their careers, especially if you're in the military and you're trying to figure out like what kind of schools, what kind of military schools you can go to get promotion points or to get extra tabs. Then that's one of them, but the Pathfinder course will be going away in 2021. So good luck, best wishes, and peace.